Just lift your hands and say, oh, I know that I can make it. I know that I can stand, no matter what may come my way. My life is in your hands. Let's go back to the top. You don't have to worry. You don't have to worry. And don't you be afraid. Joy comes in the morning, and troubles they don't last always. For there's a friend named Jesus who will wipe your tears away. And if your heart is broken, just lift your hands and say, oh, I know that I can make it. I know that I can stand, no matter what may come my way. My life is in your hands. With Jesus I can take it. With him I know I can stand, no matter what may come my way. My life is in your hands. So when you're tests and trials, they seem to get you down, and all your friends and loved ones are nowhere to be found. Remember, there's a friend named Jesus who will wipe your tears away. And if your heart is broken, just lift your hands and say, oh, I know that I can make it. I know that I can stand, no matter what may come my way. My life is in your hands. With Jesus I can make it. With him I know I can stand, no matter what may come my way. My life is in your hands. I know that I can make it. I know that I can stand, no matter what may come my way. My life is in your hands. With Jesus I can take it. With him I know I can stand, no matter what may come my way. My life is in your hands, no matter what may come my way. My life is in your hands, no matter what may come my way. My life is in your hands.
Let us stand. The psalmist said, my soul waits in silence for God only. From him is my salvation. He only is my rock and my salvation, my stronghold. I shall not be greatly shaken. My soul waits in silence for God only, for my hope is from him. He only is my rock and my salvation. On God my salvation and my glory rest. The rock of my strength, my refuge is in God. Trust in him at all times. Pour out your heart before him. God is a refuge for us. Let us pray. Gracious God, once again we come into your presence with thanksgiving in our hearts and on our lips. For we recognize that you are our God, our Father, our Maker, the one who is able to sustain us. And Father, even as we come to celebrate a life that was short-lived, we thank you for the impact that it has already made and what you have planned for the future. So Father, as we continue through this service, we pray that your presence will be undeniable in our midst, that you will guide every aspect of it. And Father, we lift up Natalia and her family especially, that you would just sustain them and continue to encourage them. We ask your blessing upon this time in Jesus' name. Amen. You may be seated. I want to take the opportunity to welcome each and every one of you. Some of you may be here for the first time. We want to welcome you to Mount Hope Community Baptist Church, where Natalia worships. And obviously, we've had a long-standing relationship with Natalia and her family. And as we think of Euridece, or Euridece, as we say in English, we are here to celebrate her life. Her life, as I said, was short-lived, but has had an impact and will continue to have an impact. The purpose of this memorial service, as Natalia has shared it, is to restore emotional wellness in the grieving process. In your bulletin, it says the main reason for the service is to help people who are grieving know that they don't have to go through it alone. We know how deep their loss is. We know that grieving is a long process, and we are called and encouraged to support one another in our time of need. So today we celebrate Euridece's life, and we also want to continue to encourage each one of us to know that no matter what we're going through, we don't have to go through it alone. At this time, I'm going to ask Pastor Rodriguez, who was part of the whole process when Euridece was in the hospital, and he will share some thoughts with us. Pastor.
Neste Memorial Service, nós estaremos recordando, honrando a memória da nossa saudosa, pequenita, a grande missionária, segundo a opinião de alguém, aquela que veio para estar conosco por breves momentos, mas segundo alguém disse, com um propósito definido. Como missionária, veio para estar com a família por breves momentos. No dizer dessa pessoa, ela veio para cumprir uma missão, como elo de união, para restaurar os laços entre alguns membros da família que viviam desavindas. Acredito. Decorrem já 20 anos desde que Euridece chegou para uma paragem breve, que durou apenas 2 anos, o suficiente para deixar marcas indeléveis e profundas nos que conviveram de perto com essa doce criança. Descrever a personalidade de uma criança como a Euridece é tarefa que estaria exigindo habilidades que estão fora dos nossos recursos. Vítima de uma gama de dificuldades de saúde no sistema respiratório, marcou a nossa menina durante um espaço de tempo curto, mas era animador vê-la pacientemente cooperando com o corpo clínico que exaustivamente procurava aplicar métodos mais eficazes que dispunha para ajudá-la a superar as deficiências que a impediam de respirar com liberdade, facto que fazia merecer toda a simpatia e admiração dos intervenientes, enfermeiros e médicos. Nunca a vimos a Euridice chorar, mas sabia sorrir a despeito de todo o sofrimento. A Euridece era especial, e porque ela era especial, sua memória perdurará na mente e coração dos que com ela conviveram de perto. A nossa missão exigia que estivéssemos sempre presente ao lado dela no hospital e quantas vezes em casa, para onde ia por curto espaço de tempo. Mas dolorosamente o fim da nossa menina chegou. A invasão de uma hemorragia assassina chegou para marcar o fim da vida física dessa nossa querida Euridece. À 1h da madrugada do dia 22 de janeiro de 1999, a médica telefonou solicitando a minha presença no hospital de Rhode Island para assistir os desolados pais, porque Euridece acabara de dizer adeus a este mundo. Porém, Jesus estava presente nesse momento, nunca esteve ausente. Estendeu os seus braços e recolheu a nossa saudosa menina. Bem-haja. Irmãos, guardemos isto no nosso coração, que tudo quanto Deus faz é sempre para melhor. A Euridece descansou das suas muitas aflições, indo ocupar o seu lugar na constelação dos anjos, na glória celestial. Toda a consolação para Natália e toda a família nesta tarde.
There's beauty in my brokenness. I've got true love instead of pain. There's freedom though you've captured me. I've got joy instead of mourning. There's beauty in my brokenness. I've got true love instead of pain. There's freedom though you've captured me. I've got joy instead of mourning. You give me joy down deep in my soul, down deep in my soul, down deep in my soul. You give me joy down deep in my soul, down deep in my soul, down deep in my soul. There's beauty in my brokenness. I've got true love instead of pain. There's freedom though you captured me. I've got joy instead of mourning. You give me joy down deep in my soul.
this time, Natalia is going to come and share her story with us in the form of a testimonial. And we'll just encourage you to keep her in prayer as she comes and shares, because this is very difficult for her to do as well.
Just pray for me because my knees right now is weak. But the service today is to give joy. So just be free, whatever you want to do. You want to clap, whatever you want to do, just do it, okay? Some of you may be wondering why I didn't do a memorial service for 18 years. Therefore, I find it fit to explain why after the first memorial service, I did not do another one until now. I am a strong believer that everything happens in God's time. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, "To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven." I was not ready to do another memorial service until now. If you don't know, my daughter Euridece was born on May 9th of 1997 at Women and Infants Hospital in Providence, Rhode Island. She was diagnosed at birth with a rare disease called tetralogy-of-Fallot and with absent left pulmonary valve. Later on, I'll play a YouTube explaining what tetralogy-of-Fallot is. At 5 days old, Euridece was transported to Boston Children's Hospital for a heart catheterization and a second opinion. After confirmation that she indeed had tetralogy-of-Fallot, she got transported to Hasbro Children's Hospital, where she had all her surgeries upon my consent. According to Euridece's autopsy report, Euridece had the reconstruction of her left pulmonary valve on May 16, 1997, only a week after her birth. Her weight at birth made it possible for the surgery to be done this early in her life. I remember her cardiologist always asking me what I was eating during my pregnancy, because he found it a miracle that Euridece was born at 9 pounds and 15 ounces. He said babies born with Euridece's conditions are usually born between 1 to 4 pounds, in which case they would have to wait for weight gain to perform surgery. I was thankful that my baby was born with enough weight to go through all the surgery she had. On May 31st, 1997, she had her major repairs done. On July 3rd, 1997, she had a tracheostomy tube placed in, and she was started on chronic mechanical ventilation. In August of the same year, she had a feeding tube placed in due to a gastroesophageal reflux disease and failure to thrive. Euridece could not come home until September of 1997, 4 months after her birth. What a joy we had as a family when Euridece came home. We live at Slater's Street, Pawtucket, on the 3rd floor. We rented from the man's family who lived on the 1st floor, and our cousins Edelmira lived with her family on the 2nd floor. All of our children were the same ages. They all played with each other. Because Euridece was homebound for a while, they all came upstairs to watch Barney, Teletubbies, and other children cartoons. There were too many for me to recall the names. Although Euridece came home at 4 months old, she was always back and forth to the hospital. On November of 1998, right after Thanksgiving, I had to rush her to the hospital on an emergency visit. This was the last time my daughter left the house. She would never return back. It was sad to open the door every day for the other children and hear their cheery, innocent, sweet voices asking every day, "When is baby come home?" They never called Euridece her name. They all called her baby, although she and Evelise, who was one of the children, were the same age. She had to be admitted again to the hospital due to development
of a wind infection. During this day, she got a replacement of her pulmonary homograph and a revision of the right ventricle outflow tract. Euridece stayed in the hospital from November 1998 until January 23, 1998. On this winter January day, she had a massive bleeding from her tracheostomy tube, and despite all the effort for resuscitation, she passed away. This was my worst nightmare, not because my daughter passed away, but because I observed her departure and the desperate struggle that her medical emergency team at Hasbro Children's Hospital Intensive Care Unit went through to resuscitate her. They tried everything possible. If they could give my daughter life, they would. Someone once said, God gives and he takes away. God lended Euridece to us for 18 months. On the 19th month, he decided it was time to take her away. Here's why I believe so. While Euridece's medical emergency team was working on resuscitating her, I stood at the head of her bed, rubbing her head. It was almost like my presence in the room was keeping her alive. I remember one of the doctor's voice telling me, "Don't leave her side." At the same time, her internal bleeding could not be controlled. And I remember hearing one of them saying, "We have to make a way out." That was the moment I saw one of the surgeons holding a razor-like instrument and reaching to make an incision on her chest to make a way out for the blood. At this time, my knees got weak. I could not remain standing for long. I remember walking halfway from the head of the bed with my hands on my head, praying, "God, I cannot take this pain anymore. My baby was too small. My baby's too small. She cannot take this any longer." I remember regaining my strength, but when I was about to turn around to go to the head of the bed, I heard the voice of one of the doctors saying, "We lost her." At this time, I became numb, and everything seemed to run on speed mode. Within few minutes, the room was all cleaned up, and I remember being left in the room with just my daughter and one nurse. We cleaned her, we bathed her, we dressed her, and then I was told I could hold her. I picked up my daughter and sat on a chair until I had to pass her to my ex-husband, her dad. I remember having tears, but I had no pain. I was in shock. I did not know what to say or what to do. After a few hours, my family and I all left the room and left the Euridece on the hospital bed. I did not see my daughter until the day of the wake. A week later, and for the last time, the next day for the funeral. That was actually the first day I felt pain after her death. When the cover of the casket was closed, it was like my life was closed on. After the funeral, I remember Euridece is gone, but I still have my Elisangela with me, my older daughter. I made the decision that I was going to do anything possible to love and take care of my Elisangela, but I could not do it on my own. I needed strength from God. Euridece was buried on Saturday. On the following Tuesday, Pastor Bala was going to start Bible study on experiencing God. Unlikely of my Cape Verdean culture, I attended the Bible study 4 days after her burial, and I attended every single service after that. The fellowship with my church family and my closeness with God is what gave me strength to continue living my life normally, as normal as I could possibly be losing a child. It carried me until the memorial service a year later. At the memorial service, I said to the people who attended that I was going to do a memorial service every year after that, one with the intention to do fundraiser to help families with scholarship. But it never happened because I started to grieve. I believe that God was preparing me for today through my grieving process. After the memorial service is when I started having the pain of losing a child. I believe this is when my numbness ended. It ended when people started sending me invitation cards to parties. In Cape Verde cultures, for respect to family grieving, normally people don't send out invitations cards or invite anyone verbally to any parties. They call it luto. For parents and children, the luto usually is 1 year and a month for cousins and other relatives. It was painful for me to receive invitation for birthdays, christenings, weddings, but more for baby showers. The invitations reminded me of my baby, gone. She did not have a chance to celebrate. Or I would think that could be her celebration. I pictured that in my mind. Because I did not want to leave Los Angeles out of summer events, I had to hide my pain. I had to compose myself in hiding place like my bathroom, and I had to prepare my mind not to let neither Los Angeles nor whoever invited me see me crying. The only place where I felt freedom to cry was at funeral homes. Ecclesiastes 7:2, better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting. For that is the end of all men, and the living will take it to heart. This verse became a practical verse for my life after Ritz's death. People who really know me can testify that they see me more on wakes and funerals than they see me at any parties, even now, 18 years after my daughter's death. This is because I started identifying myself with the mourners. Although I looked strong when people saw me at the parties, I went too. Inside, I was still raw for the longest time. I believe I healed inwardly after I started talking about Euridece again about 2 years ago. After my cousin Ruth and Betu, through their generosity, caring, and consideration for people grieving, unintentionally reminded me of what I had said during the memorial service 18 years ago. 2 years ago, through the leadership class Develop Tomorrow's Leaders Today, given by Pastor Reverend Dr. Olivia Bala, I got motivated to go back to school. Through the same class, I got introduced to College Unbound, and I became a student at this college. College Unbound requires every student to have a project. I had a hard time finding what I was passionate about, what I wanted to do, until when I saw on Facebook the post of Ruth and Betu doing fundraiser for someone's funeral. That post was the resuscitation of what had died in me. It was my aha moment. It sparked my own fundraising intention that was in the back of my mind. It restored the emotional wellness I had lost during my grieving process, and in the same time, it gave me the motivation to celebrate Euridece's life with a mission, to help mourners in my community with the restoration of their emotional wellness by supplying resources that will give them hope, love, peace, unity, and make them feel that they are not alone in this world. And to advocate for families and patients with tetralogy of Fallot, the same disease Euridece was born with. And with that said, today, I will introduce you to a patient of tetralogy of Fallot that I would want to help. I want to create an organization in Euridece's memory. It's called Euridece Felisberta Santos Imprint, a place where mourners will not feel lonely. After Euridece died, I felt lonely. Why did I feel lonely? How can that possible, knowing that I still had a big family? I was lonely with my own thought process. I was lost in remorse and grief. I felt that God was punishing me by taking Euridece away because I felt like I was a murderer. I had killed 2 babies with abortions during the time that I was lost in the world, trying to hurt my own father with rebellion. This guilt paralyzed me for the longest time. Chronologically, I don't recall exactly when this thought ended, that Euridece was taken away from me because of my sin of abortion. But I know for sure that it ended after I started attending prayer meetings, frequently learning that sometimes God answers not how we want him to answer, but how he finds it fit for us. I realized that God actually answered my prayer the night Euridece died. I prayed for the pain to be taken away. How the pain would be removed was up to God to decide, not me. What mother would pray for her daughter to die? No mother at all, I want to believe. This, the death of a beloved, is not to justify, forgive, or make up for anything bad that is happening in anyone's life. This is only my thought process. It is only to show to people the way I grieved alone, in my own world zone, and how it affected me physically, emotionally, mentally. Every individual's thought process is different. Replaying the prayer in my head on the night Euridece died. Please, God, I cannot take this pain anymore. Please, Euridece is such a small baby, and this is too much for her in processing it. I realized that I was thinking wrongly because I gave birth to Elisangela before Euridece, and she was a perfect baby. When I decided to have Elisangela, I had repented of my sin and had accepted God's forgiveness. I felt redeemed. I had no more shame. God answered my prayer and gave me such a beautiful and healthy child when I decided to give birth to Elisangela. So why he was going to skip Elisangela's birth to punish me with the birth of my second child, when I was already living a perfect life? It did not make sense. I say this not to say that aborting is okay, but because my heart feels that somewhere in our community there might be a mother who is probably going through the similar grief, and I pray that she finds strength to share her story, because it might give her comfort like it is giving me now. Losing a child is hard. It is immense. It is dark. It is lonely. And sharing the experience of grief is even harder, but it can help with the healing process for self and others. I share my story with abortion because that was what gave me the most grief, but it can be something else that one is struggling with. Last year, I participated on the Heart Walk with American Heart Association fundraiser team in memory of Euridece. I posted my story on Facebook. Benvinda Mundi, who I had known for the longest time, read the post. Through this post, we both came to know that she and Euridece shared the same disease, tetralogy of Fallot. Had I never shared my story on Facebook, we would never have the connection that we're having now. I truly believe that God connected us and with a purpose, and I cannot stay quiet about it, because I was called to glorify him through my pain and through my victories. Helping others who are going through difficulty in their lives has given me more purpose to live. It has given me a legacy. Had I done a memorial service before, I would not have harvested the joy, the peace, the love, and the unity I have within me for my community. I concluded that everything falls in place in God's divine time. I never carried my promise to do a memorial service every year for 18 for 17 years because I needed to go through the pain of grief first. I needed to identify myself with the mourners and patients of tetralogy of Phallus. And I need to be in peace with myself before I could lend help to anyone. This death, this pain, this life was not something that I voluntarily planned. It happened that way because, as the verse in Ecclesiastes says, to everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under the heaven.
A very difficult story shared in a powerful way. And we thank you, Natalia, for your vulnerability and your willingness to open to the rest of us what's been going on in your life and how God is going to use you. So thank you for sharing. At this time, we'll watch a brief video that talks about this particular disease as part of an educational process, which is one of the things, the goals that Natalia has for her foundation.
The heart is made up of 4 chambers. 2 filling chambers, known by the medical terms right and left atria, and 2 pumping chambers, known as the right and left ventricles. You may notice that the right side of the heart is on the left side of this video, and the left side of the heart is on the right side of this video. That's because when we talk about parts of the heart, we always use the patient's perspective and associate the parts of the heart with their right and left side. The left heart contains oxygen-rich red blood for the body. The right heart contains oxygen-poor blue blood, which is pumped through the lungs to be filled with oxygen. Tetralogy of Fallot is a condition that is made up of 4 defects. First, there is a ventricular septal defect, or VSD. This is a large hole between the 2 ventricles. This hole allows blue blood to pass from the right ventricle to the left ventricle. This is a problem because this blue blood goes through the aorta, then through the body, without being refreshed with oxygen by the lungs. The second defect is a series of narrowings across the outflow from the right ventricle to the pulmonary artery. This is called stenosis. This narrowing begins in the right ventricle just below the pulmonic valve. The narrowing continues due to thickened cusps of the pulmonic valve and small pulmonary artery. This narrowing reduces blood flow to the lungs, and the hole allows for oxygen-poor blue blood to mix with oxygen-rich red blood in the left ventricle. This blue blood now gets pumped through the aorta to the body, which results in bluish discoloration of the skin, nails, and tongue. This is called cyanosis, and it's where the term blue babies comes from. These babies have an abundance of blue blood and a lack of oxygen-rich red blood. This leads us to the third heart defect of tetralogy of Fallot. Because the heart has to do more work to pump blood through a narrowed valve, the right ventricle becomes more muscular and therefore thickened. The fourth defect has to do with the positioning of the aorta. In tetralogy of Fallot, the aorta is positioned right over the ventricular septal defect, which is the hole between the 2 ventricles. Surgical repair of tetralogy of Fallot involves 1. Closing the VSD, and 2. Opening up the narrowed pulmonary valve to improve blood flow to the heart. If you have tetralogy of Fallot and want to learn more about your condition, talk to your doctor.